Hello, I'm Mike, Glampsite builder here in Honey Grove, Texas. Today, what I want to talk about is possibly selling your park, or what is your exit strategy. You might be thinking, geez, I thought this was about building ones and not selling them, but you got to think about this stuff in the future. One of these days, there's going to be an exit strategy, whether you pass away or you want to sell it and make money. So there is some things to think about when you're setting up your park. And the first thing I want to bring up is the value of these parks. If you want to sell it or pay off a partner or so on, what are these things worth? It's a tough one because I can tell you that it's a little bit more black and white when people are discussing the cost of a home. Well, let me see, it's 3,000 square feet. Look at all the other 3,000 square foot houses in that neighborhood. I want to buy some apartments. Okay, how many doors or how many units? What is the income? And they're going to base that on the income is going to be determining a lot of the value. So there's appraisers that can value these things. And if you do want to sell your park, I'm not an expert on this, but I will say that I think I would definitely be dealing with a broker, because this is kind of a niche real estate transaction, you know, these parks and RV parks and glamping parks. So there's specialty brokers. If you try to sell your park, I don't know, online or something like that, I think you're going to be dreaming to get some buyers that are really talking to you. The brokers have people coming to them. Hey, I'm looking for a park. I'm looking to spend this much money. And if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it, because I was kind of surprised when I looked up some parks for sale. And I was like, wow, these guys are selling these for millions. Of course, it depends on how big is the park, how many units, what's the income, what kind of structures, and so on. But a broker is going to have a lot more potential buyers. There are people out there, and I've talked to them, that they don't want to build a park like I do. They need something turnkey, and it's already going, it's already making money. So look up the cost of what some people are selling these for. Start getting educated what a park could be worth, because it could help you in the future, whether you're going to sell it, whether you're going to bring on a partner, whether you want to refinance it. There's a lot of reasons. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is if there's a partnership. Most of the time it's going to be an individual person, or an individual person and their significant other own the park. But when you get into the bigger parks and we're dealing with millions of dollars, a lot of times there are different partners involved in this that help create it or that own it. The partners that you want to team up with to possibly do a park, you know, I have a video on partners, and you got to know them. You know, you don't want to just, I talked to a guy that has some money, wants to be my partner. You want to stay away from that. You want to get somebody that's actually going to bring something to the table and bring in some experience that you don't have, and also more money. So having a partner with more money makes things a little financially easier. You can look at my video about, you know, partnerships. I'm not going to get too far into it, but they're critical. You want to make sure you know up front, if you have a partner, what the game plan is. One guy says, I thought I'm going to keep this thing forever. One guy says, well, when my kids get out of school, we would like to sell and we would like to go move to a different area. Whatever your game plan is, you could have partners that are clueless on, well, I thought we were keeping this. No, we're selling it. Make sure you have those conversations up front. And I won't get into the details of a partnership agreement, but there's a lot of things that have to be in there. You got to think about things and adding clauses of, well, what if, let's say I'm partnering with somebody, what if I go bankrupt? And, what's my responsibility and what my partner is going to have to do? What if I get divorced? What if I get sick? What if I'm in the hospital? What if we've come to an agreement that my one partner is the money guy and I'm going to be the other half and I'm managing the property and maybe I'm getting an extra little salary or I'm the guy doing the day-to-day stuff? Well, what if the money partner is there, the guy that does the day-to-day stuff, gets divorced, goes to the hospital, dies, gets hit by a truck, and you're sitting there going, oh, geez, what are we going to do? So I know that some of these things are negative, but you got to think about the negative up front. Think about, you want to be optimistic in building your park and being excited, but you got to spend some time on the what ifs. What if this happened? What if that happened? So you need to talk that out with your partners. Make sure you're on the same page. Have a bulletproof agreement between the two of you. Make sure you talk it out. And then you guys will be discussing exit strategy. What are we going to do? Geez, I'm 65 years old and my partner's 30 and he's out here working and, well, I want to keep the money. Well, I'm working my butt off out here and, we got to make it fair for everybody. So I've been in several partnerships in different types of deals, whether it's partnerships on RVs and boats, but mostly it's real estate. So, make sure you get it set up to where everybody knows what's going on. And you don't have to have 50-50 partnerships. I have set up partnerships like a couple of my friends that had some money that wanted to put into a deal. So I did one deal where I was 50% owner and two of my friends were 25% owner. I did a deal where four of us were 25% owner. I got an additional 10% of construction costs as being the general contractor. So the partnership paid me as a general contractor that got it built, just like the partnership can pay for other things that have to be done there. So get that bulletproof agreement between the two of you guys clear. It's got to be clear on the what ifs and what percentage ownership is everybody. And I want to touch real quickly on the 50-50 partnerships. I was taught by somebody very wise long ago, you should have 41 or 51-49 partnerships. 50-50, sometimes partners get in an argument, disagreement. Are we going to go in circles or who's making the final decision? That is one reason why my buddy suggested be the 51% and you call the shots or you have control. There's different ways to set it up, but you could have full control and have a salary but it can be handled separately. The next thing I was going to talk about is on your exit strategy and valuing your park is the type of units you have. And quite honestly, I'm gonna say that there's different appraisers out there, and I'm gonna say that there's gonna be different evaluations for your park from different appraisers. I know this because of what I said earlier about how clean cut maybe houses and apartments and other things are. The look in their eyes sometimes when you start talking to people about it, like a lender, which I have, is like, well, what's it? What is it? And well, it's a bunch of tents? Yeah, but it's bringing in this much money. Yeah, but what if they blow away? Or the comparing structures, having a built structure, a little cabin. So one appraiser might say, oh, I like that little cabin with the bathroom and the kitchen. And I like the tent that they set up over by the oak tree. But I don't know. I'm only going to give it a valuation of $5,000 to replace that. I'm not going to give them the money for all the income. I mean, you can set it up that way, but the appraisers are going to be looking at these different units and going, I don't know what to put onto this. So you kind of have to be a salesman and say how nice everything is and letting the appraisers know how much people like them and money's coming in and so on. So I know there's some guys out there that are probably analyzing exactly what I'm saying. There's different ways to do things. I just have some experience in thinking out the exit strategies and having partners. If you're putting the thing together and you're looking for land, I think something that is always valuable if you have room to expand. So hypothetically, well, I'm looking at a 5-acre lot, and there's this other one over here that's a 10-acre lot, and there's one on down the road, that's a 49-acre piece of land. And, it depends on what you want to create. Partners will go after the 49 acres. A guy like me just bought 5 acres. So there's different ways to do it. But again, I'm talking about strategies, making your park valuable. So one way to make your park valuable is, it would be awesome if you filled up the whole park with a bunch of units, but usually people can't afford all of that. So they start with maybe 1 unit. I'm starting with 5 units. And it's nice to have room to expand. I have some room here that I can still add some tree houses. I'm keeping my park for the foreseeable future. But if I were to be selling my park, I would be talking about the 5 units that I have and point out what I have in the park for room for expansion. Because that's what investors and other people are looking for sometimes, is like, okay, it's making this much money, but man, I can add value by putting trailers or RVs or tents or tree houses in that parcel in the future. Maybe you never get there, but when you go to sell your park, it's a big selling point that, I've got, 10 units on my 5 acres, but we have an additional 5 acres to expand upon. So somebody's looking at your park saying, wow, look at this, and it looks pretty cool to bring in money, but man, look what we can do down the road. We can add so much to this and turn this into some big spectacular park and make millions. So remember, look up those brokers and look at the value of some of these parks. I was pleasantly surprised. So having some extra room at your park will help you sell the park for investors, or maybe you're keeping it and, I have more money now and I'm going to go expand my park myself. The last thing I'm going to talk about is good accounting and record keeping. So picture yourself, you're somebody that wants to buy a park. I retired and me and my wife want to, get out in the woods and buy one of these parks and live happily ever after. And so we're going to go look at some parks. So they know the area they want to be in, and they have 2 that they're looking at, and they go to talk to both of them. The first guy, you come to him and he says, we're doing pretty good. We've been making a lot of money on this, and I think it's somewhere around, whatever the number is, $9,000 to $10,000 a month, or whatever the number is. And if that number is wishy-washy, and I think that's what it is, somebody should be able to pinpoint the exact dollar. And what I'm getting at is, if you're going to sell your park and you got a buyer that's talking to you, trust me, it's going to make a difference if he goes to one park and it's wishy-washy and the guy says, we've been doing about this much, and a lot of verbal stuff, and this park is great, everybody loves it, and we make tons of money. Versus the guy that's, let me open my books. And they open the books and all your accounting, everything is organized. So you want to buy a business, but do you feel comfortable buying a business from a guy that's doesn't have all his ducks in a row and isn't all organized? Are his numbers correct? Is he missing things? Am I getting the true picture? Where you go to the other guy and he opens up the books, he emails you the income, he shows you a spreadsheet. These are the repairs that were done, and this is how much we rent it for. They're going to want to see, look how much it gets booked during this month. Look how much it gets booked during that month. So it's important if you're going to sell this business in the future, you got to be organized. You got to be able to tell a potential buyer all the ins and outs, so they go, wow, this guy's been really paying attention, and he runs a tight ship. And they feel a lot more comfortable purchasing your park. So having all your numbers, having all your accounting, showing how organized you are, you should be able to sit down within a half hour to an hour at a desk, plop things open, and talk to a potential buyer about all the ins and outs of your park. Now, I think I said that was the last thing I was going to say, but no, this is the last thing I'm going to say, is that here's the other scenario. I got a 5-acre park, which I do right here in Honey Grove, Texas, and let's say there's a competitor that wants to sell his business that's over in the next town. And we go through the spiel on how much income and everything that we've made, and I'm going to sell this business to somebody. But here could be the kicker. Has your park been run by your family and yourself? Is the only people that have run this business people that you've hired, that you know that when they sell the business, they're leaving or they're not a part of it, or your whole family manages it and we're moving? It's going to kill some of the value, because when somebody buys a park, you know, they want to see that it's running nicely and bringing in money and it's not chaotic. And so picture that you go to sell your park, and I'm really happy that I got an offer for whatever, $2 million for my park. And I go through everything and I tell them, oh yeah, and the girl that does the landscaping and comes here on Saturdays, there's a local person, and I've got a local family that's helping me build some stuff, and they're going to be cleaning the units. If I ever do sell this park, I've got my management and I got a lot of the people that run the park intact. So if you're a smaller park, let's say it's, you know, a little piece of land with a few units, not that big a deal. Well, we're going to buy it and we're going to run it. However, if you have a bigger park and you want to make millions of dollars, and your whole family is the one that's been running the whole park, and then you want to close next month, and the next person that's buying your park has to learn the hard way and go through a big learning curve. So a lot of things that people do is they might have the owner stay on board and say, okay, I'm selling you my park, but I will be able to be reached for consulting for the next 12 months, or I will sell you my park for X, and we'll continue running the park for the next 12 months until you can get management in place. Or, you know, I'm going to sell my park and just look at the different options that people are going to be asking for. But the management part, I feel very good about, because you see online people talking about, how do you guys get this done? And it's out in a rural area, out in the middle of nowhere, and how do you guys get it cleaned and all that stuff? So I was lucky. I got a local family that's 20 minutes away. I'm an hour and a half away. And so when I go to sell my park, I can introduce them to the people that have been cleaning and landscaping and really running most of the park. And they want to keep working, and that's a big value. Picture you're going to buy a park and it's already got 2 or 3 people that know how to run it. Or maybe it's just one person. But keep that in mind, that you could have a park making X with X amount of units, and it could be going smoothly and making a certain amount of income every month, and you go to sell the park to somebody and it's a whole new management. And you get a drop off, and you get some customers who are upset because they didn't know about the little intricacies of your park. So if you want to sell your park, some management and help with it will be very big. You know, like I said, whether you're helping for a while or not. So keep those things in mind. I bring this stuff up because I know everybody, you know, you get excited, and me too. Like, oh, I got my land, and oh, look at those trees, and oh, we got the tent set up, and the Airstream rolled in. And there is so much excitement. in this, but you got to look at the details and think about the future. I think sometimes too many people jump into something and they learn the hard way and they don't do a little more research. But I think more importantly, do some real soul searching. Do I want to invest in this? Do I want to spend my time doing this? Is my wife or my husband going to like this? Am I going to do this for a year or two and bail out? There's a lot of different reasons why people will get out of the park. So if you have management, accounting, everything lined up, you've talked to brokers that know the true value, that have buyers, whether you got partnerships or not, there's a lot of things you can do. But think about the future and think about your exit strategy and how you want to get out of this eventually. And I didn't bring up, because you may pass away and you might have to think about this stuff and say, oh, wow, now my kids have the park, or my daughter is running the park, and we didn't set up the management, and it's all unorganized, and now she's going through a bunch of chaos. So all sorts of reasons to be organized, have your ducks in a row, be able to lay out everything and show a potential buyer what you got, and then think about brokers. So that is it for me. I am Mike, the Glampsite Builder. Hope this video helped, and remember, I'm going to start asking now for likes and views. I've been doing this for kind of for fun, but I have gotten a couple of questions, and some people have said, why aren't you doing this? And so if you could subscribe and give me some likes, I would definitely like to keep doing this. And I would like to get to the point where you guys are asking me some questions and I can come back with some educated answers. So that's it from me, Mike, the Glampsite Builder. Hope to see you guys again.